Good afternoon, Tom Ginn, G-Force. We'll be right back. Good day, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, no matter where you're at. Today, I'm really excited to have a guest I interviewed here earlier in the week. And, gratitude is what we'll be talking about today. And as a personal development coach, when I was introduced to really look at gratitude at a deeper level, it changed everything in my life and my business, my relationships. And gratitude is a very powerful principle to embrace. As I've studied it and I looked at myself, just recognize that gratitude, we look at gratitude on the surface, but when we really take a deep look at it, apply it in our life, things can change no matter what the circumstances you're in today. So gratitude, what I say is powers our potential. I established a program 3 years ago and just want to share those principles and bring people in that understand the power of gratitude in their own lives, their business. And so today I'm bringing back in my guest that I had on the other day, but we want to make sure that we're tagging and sharing this out because we never know where it's going to land and make a difference in somebody's life. One word, one comment, one story can make a big difference in people's lives. So with no further ado, I'm bringing in my guest, Scott Schilling. How you doing, bud?
Doing great, Tom. Thanks for having me.
Hey, this is the quickest turnaround I've had on a Wednesday with Own Your Own Health and what does business have to do with health. And today we're talking about gratitude and where does gratitude fall in our lives. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, Scott. And I appreciate you coming back in today and joining our program. And just want to make sure everybody's out there listening on the replay, tag and share. Okay.
Absolutely. You know, I tremendously appreciate the opportunity to be here again and with you just the other day. And this is a very important topic. Many people don't think about it, and they really need to.
Yeah, absolutely. But I always start this out with anybody that's out there that in all my interviews, what are you grateful for today? And I encourage people that are listening to this, stop and reflect. What are you grateful for right now? Right now, because that's a principle that I understood a long time ago. This moment's the most important moment of my life, and how I respond to what's going on through gratitude determines what's going to happen the next moment and into the future. It's that powerful of a principle. But Scott, what are you grateful for today? And then we'll go from there.
You know, I just earlier today I had an exceptional physical therapy session with the team that I've been working with. And what made it exceptional is I really didn't want to be there. You ever have one of those days where you just, you're tired? It's been a long week, a whole bunch of other things. And yet they took that into consideration. It still allowed me to do things that improved me for the day. And just really grateful to the entire team, everything from my surgeon to his team and to all the PT folks that I've been working with to, get myself back to a spot where I hadn't been in many years. So very excited about that.
Many times we look at oh my gosh, this is not going to be a fun day, because we know what rehab is. If you've ever had any sort of significant trauma to your body and you have to go through a process to bring it back to a state of more functionality or health or whatever you want to call it, many times people they know what's coming and then they stop before they get there. So congratulations. You know the pain was coming, right?
I knew, that I was sore and stiff and whatever. And I think part of it is I've had some very good business developments over the week. And it actually, kind of some of those things that you're waiting on all of a sudden came through, and I think my body just said, ah, it's now come through. So I think that was part of it. But yeah, you don't have major surgeries and then go, oh, by the way, I'm going to be just fresh as new immediately. So
Yeah, I'm going to run that mile tomorrow. So it's called I'm going to take that first step.
exactly.
I'm going to take that first step. Well, I think it's important today that sharing that, when we have unpleasantries, we still got to be grateful.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, all the people that are supporting you, that are from the surgeon and the technology and all that, we just got to be grateful, not just on the surface. So a little bit of background for those who may not know you, where you live, a little bit about your personal life, your family, or whatever, and then we'll dive a little bit into your why, your story, and how gratitude all comes into play here.
Well, I've been very fortunate. My dad worked for the same company for 46 years. That's what I saw. So I went into corporate America and did that until I chose not to. Have been a consultant or somebody who has helped people grow their businesses or turn around their businesses for a long time. Early 2000s, I felt like I could serve more people better if I would become a professional speaker, trainer, author, coach. And I've been very blessed to do well over 3,000 live events, probably to 1 million people sitting in seats. Shared the stage with virtually every name you know. You may or may not know mine, but that's okay. That wasn't my task at the time. But it gave me the opportunity to meet some truly amazing people. And through that, one of the things that I learned, quite frankly, when you're sitting back in a green room with some of those folks, is you learn they put on their pants just the exact same way. They've got issues just the exact same as you do. All those different things. We're not all that different. It's those who are grateful for their opportunities. Sometimes people ask, how were you able to get on those big stages and speak in audiences of 25,000 plus and things like that? I just worked at it. I worked at it. I was good to people. I was grateful for the opportunities as they came along, and the opportunities keep on coming along. Be gracious. Understand it takes work.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with work. Work's good for you. And, just tremendously grateful when you get there. And for me, it's one of the concepts I teach, but more importantly, anything I teach, I live.
Yeah.
And that is become an asset to everyone you meet. Asset is a 5-letter acronym for a spontaneous servant every time. Become a spontaneous servant every time. It's pretty amazing what happens. Well, if you're a servant to folks, you're grateful. You're grateful for the opportunity to meet them, to serve them, and to do great things. And quite frankly, I learned that from the great Zig Ziglar. You can have everything in life you want when you help enough other people get what they want.
Absolutely. You said something there is, something I learned from Bob Proctor. And, we in personal development, you're really doing the work on yourself. You're starting to see how you formed your thinking, your belief systems, and all that, how that's been influenced. And then the ego gets in there, and ego's good. It's to protect us as well. But there's two sides of ego. One is the creative, one is the destructive. And many times people's ego is destroying themselves, but it's also destroying other people around them. And so I was turned on to that. And through my coaching, being personally coached by Bob Proctor, the great Bob Proctor, I've personally been coached and mentored by him, and sitting in his home. And some of his lessons he taught is a principle of always leaving people in a better place than you encountered them.
Mm-hmm.
And my ego and myself, and we'll just sort of banter around here a little bit, is that I thought the world was I was the center of the universe. And when I learned that and how it was holding me back, and understood what he meant by that, when you encounter people, and it's not just a canned thing, how you doing today, and you say you look nice or whatever, but really be conscious of where people are, that little look in the eye, just a smile on your face, or just opening the door, or that compliment. Say, hey, listen, you did a great job bagging my groceries, whatever it is. Or even acknowledging, it looks like that you might be a little upset, or things are not going well today. Just acknowledging people is so important. You come away seeing somebody put a smile back on their face.
Yep.
When people ask me, how are you doing today? I made a conscious effort to come from this place where the heart is. This is the best day of my life. And that stops people in the track, because would you just get married or just hit the lottery? They go to the surface things. And if they ask, I should, because right now engaging with you is a blessing.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, my response to that, I actually learned by watching Zig Ziglar. But my response, if somebody says, how you doing, is fabulous, and I'll get better. And so same thing, it stops people down, and they go, well, what do you mean you get better? Well, there's so much great opportunity. That can go in any direction, right? And
Right.
So it's Zig used to always say, I'm better than good. Yeah. Zig, how are you? I'm better than good. And so, I watched him do that so many times that it was like, I can't say that, but I can, what can I say that's similar? Because but that is the way I answer probably 100% of the time.
Yeah. I've got a question for you, because we're talking about gratitude, and gratitude is like anything else we have in our lives. The understanding everything operates by discipline and application. We get better at it as we do it. What do you do to reinforce gratitude? Do you have a ritual or a process that you do? And I'll share what I do. So,
yeah. Well, gratitude is a muscle, like anything else is, quite frankly. And the more that you work it out, the easier it becomes, actually, and the stronger it becomes. One of the things that I did a number of years ago, when I was in I don't care how much you've achieved or what you do or how you do it, there will come a time where you get kicked and you're beat and you're tired and you're down and you're whatever. Well, I started a group on Facebook called Gratitude Today. And what I did is I posted my daily gratitude for 782 straight days. And then I invited other people, of course, through that time period to join, and the group is still up there. And then, you know what? I got busy. Life happened, and I forgot about my own page. And, again, there's probably 2,500 people in that group. And so I've gone back to posting, 10 gratitudes, and it's really, really out of the Bob Proctor school. I am so happy and grateful now that ... whatever that might be. And, but added a little piece to it too. I am so happy and grateful now that my PT went so well this morning, because it means I'll be able to do more things later on. So, the process is not only first of all, putting in the mindset, I am so happy and grateful now that, or I am so grateful and blessed now that, whatever that thing that you're grateful for. But then when you add the because, why is it making you so happy? And like for me, I said, I'm just tired today. It's been a long week. It's been a successful week, but I think my body is gone, some of the stuff you've been dealing with is past. And I just want to go, And so, but I said, I'm grateful that you're, asking, and then you're taking that information and working it into our workout, because I know ultimately that workout is going to serve me, and I'm going to heal quicker and be able to do more things. That becomes the why behind it.
you mentioned something, 782 days
Mm-hmm.
of expressing gratitude. I believe you should wake up with a space of gratitude. Thank God I'm above grass, right? I mean,
Exactly.
that you got to go there first, no matter what's going on, because it gives you another opportunity to 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 live and to influence and whatever your mission is. 782. Robert A. Emmons in his book, and it's a lot of science behind it. It's a workbook process, and it really causes you to question things. I'll give you some examples here in a moment that we just take for granted. But when we really understand the depth of where we should take our gratitude, changes everything. 782 days, I'm pretty impressed. But how would you like to be impressed with 18,250 days of writing down? Now, this is the
Mm-hmm.
world record. That's 50 years of every day writing down something you're grateful for and never replicated or duplicated a gratitude statement.
That's awesome. I
Because
mean,
people say,
there's no doubt that that's going to serve you well.
just think about it. First of all, people, how can you be that grateful for 18,000? We have an infinite amount of supply to be grateful for.
Yeah.
I mean, we could be grateful just for the fact that this pen was created and think about what it took to make it and all those type of things. I mean, being grateful that I have a shirt and whatever. But we take that, but we can be grateful for everything. I'm grateful for this very moment and this second that we have, the comment that you just made. So we have infinite supply to be grateful for. And just like you said, it's through repetition and discipline and consistency you grow. Just imagine that it was a woman, by the way, that did that. Do you believe that her perspective and attitude around life would be different than the person that never writes a statement down, or a person that does it once in a while?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, we get what we focus on.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, I mean, this is all scientifically proven from that side. So we get what we focus on. It comes down to positive attitude versus less than positive attitude. Notice I don't say the other word. That's another thing I've actually learned to do, is stay in a higher place, a higher vibration, a higher resonance, a higher. You can't help, if you're expressing gratitude, to be in a place where you're more positive, because you're grateful automatically. You're in that heart space. You're not in an intellectual, tactical place.
Yeah.
You're in a heartfelt, relational space. And so, many times I'm grateful for technology. The ability to be able to do this as we're doing here today. How can you not be grateful for that? And yet I hear people get so frustrated, because, the internet dropped me, or it's like, yeah, but the good news is you got the internet to begin with. So yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any doubt that if we stay in that place of gratitude and truly look at that, everything is happening for us. It's not happening to us.
Exactly.
There's a pretty good book that says all things work together for my good.
Yeah.
It does not say all things are good. It does not say all things are easy. It does not say all things are pleasant. It says all things work together for my good. And so when you get into that space where the world is conspiring to do good, you can't help but see good. Yeah. And if your mindset is on the other side of that, you'll see a lot of stuff too. You'll see a lot of junk. You'll see a lot of things that probably don't make you happy. Well, happiness is a choice. So is not being happy.
Yeah.
Why would you choose that? I mean, it seems like more fun to be happy, at least to me. Yeah. And so again, it's so fresh in my mind because of the PT session this morning, but I was not excited. And I normally am actually fairly excited about it. I was not this morning. And yet I knew that it was going to do me good to get through whatever I was able to do. Maybe I wasn't setting world records today, but I was still doing things that I haven't done in quite some time, which even less than the best was still better than nothing.
Yeah. You mentioned something a little bit ago, and I just wanted to come back to it because it's about what do we do and how do you apply these principles to change your life? I mean, it's basically we want to expand and grow.
Right.
You can't expand and grow and you mentioned you don't use the word, but just for illustration here, a lesser vibration or negative state. And as Einstein says that our thinking and our emotions, they're all vibrational or frequencies. And we know when we're in a positive state because we feel it. We tie it to a thing we call emotion. And people say, Tom, how do you stay so high? I got troubles. I've got problems. We all do. We've struggled. We've fallen and hurt ourselves. And we have things that sometimes we think we'd never get out of. People say, Tom, how do you stay at this level? It's a decision.
Yeah.
I made a decision and it's who I've become. And it's what I think about and I radiate out. And guess what happens? The negative or the lesser vibrations don't come into your life.
Right.
Or if they do come to life, they're seeking, how can I get to your state? So you have those that are skeptical, cynical, it pushes them away. Those that are seeking, it draws them all in. And people say, that sounds like voodoo, or whatever you want to call it. But like Einstein says, whatever energy you put, there's no vacuum. Whatever energy that you put out, it replaces it like energy. It can't, you put something positive out, negative doesn't replace it. You put something negative out or a lesser vibration, it brings back the same energy. And that energy is people. That's energy around everything in our universe is energy, and we attract that energy. And then when we become aware of that, then I call that being in control of that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, totally. I mean, all of that is, like you say, it's a choice. It's a decision that is made. Decision comes from the Latin decidere, to cut off.
Yeah.
To cut off any other choice. And so, again, anybody who has achieved any level of success, I mean, that's why I say it's not that you don't have tough times or bad things happen or any of the things like that. It's that you assign a different meaning to them. Gosh, somebody didn't return my phone call. Oh my God. I've called them 16 times and they won't return my phone call. And then you read in the paper the next day that they got arrested for embezzlement. Thank God they didn't return my phone call. I might have done.
You might be there with them, right?
I might have done business with them, and I might be out time, energy, and money. So again, sometimes, I actually created a meme that says, everything in life is perfect, ... once time passes and perspective is gained. You don't necessarily, the less than positive stuff, you don't necessarily recognize today how that it could be beneficial. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. But over time, at least in my experience, I have looked back at what many people would consider less than positive events in my life and go, gosh, I am so glad that happened. Now, I wouldn't want to repeat it. I had a near-death experience that I lived through. I wouldn't want anybody to have a near-death experience to gain the experience that I did. But at the same time, number one, I can't change the past anyway. So why would I get upset about that? And I learned so much through the entire experience that I have now been able to share with other people to serve them. And they are amazingly grateful for that knowledge without having to have the experience.
Yeah.
And that's why I think if you put yourself in that place where all things work together for my good, and you really, kind of sit back every once in a while and evaluate those things, it's amazing how all of a sudden you can go, oh my goodness, I'm so grateful that happened.
Yeah.
And that's where gratitude comes in again.
Yeah. We talked on the other day about your health issue, and that the prognosis wasn't, you kicked it. They said, how did this happen? The world calls that a miracle, but you already had that energy, that gratitude, that whole lineage of energy, that the proper alignment of energy. Everything is in alignment. When
Right.
people are stuck or out of sort or anxious or fearful or whatever, they just don't understand that everything runs in alignment. If something's out of alignment, we're going to fall over. Something's not going to work right. And that works with our thinking and our emotions and everything else. So I believe your attitude about gratitude is that part of that formula, the positiveness, to kick something that blew science's mind, right? This should never, how did that happen? And
Yeah.
we talked about the other day is that they know through science what we think determines how our body responds at a cellular level for healing and all that. But I want to go to this because I remember talking with Bob Proctor when I became a consultant, and I met with him up in Toronto in the consultant training. Do you know Bob personally, or have you ever encountered with Bob? Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And you know how Bob is. He's listening, right? He's evaluating, asks you questions. So I go to Bob up there, and I'm all pumped. I'm all excited about becoming a consultant, the business opportunity, and all that. So the requirement was to bring your business plan, because you're going to go into consulting. You're going to be a coaching business. How do you see yourself taking this to the world? So I've been in business for myself since 1983. Run a financial services company. So I had my mission, vision, statements, all that. I had my processes, my marketing, the numbers, and I had all this. I could take it to the bank. And so in our conversation one-on-one for about 90 minutes with Bob. So I still got my business plan up there, because I look at it and I go, and he's going through it. And Bob reads a lot, right? And he reads more than anybody that's probably ever walked this earth, or close to that. And he's going through it. And I'm thinking, what's he just looking at my bullet points? And he stops and he asks me a couple questions. He's going through it. And he sort of dropped it on the desk, sort of like that. He says, Tom, he says, I can give you the best business plan in the world. I can give you Bob Gates or Bill Gates or anybody's business plan. Because he asked me some questions. What's the most you've ever made? And I answered that. Pretty significant money in relation to what people call norm is. He says, have you been making that every year? And I says, no, that was a one-time thing. What do you normally make? And I told him still very pretty significant income a year. He says, Tom, you got a 1.5 million business plan. And based on what you shared with me, that plan won't work. I said, and I pushed back. My ego got right there, right? He said, what do you mean? I built business. I could, just work the plan. And he says, no, Tom, your relationship with money isn't there. Your attitude about money, your belief around money. And I pushed back. And he says, I want you to do this thing. And you've known it. So here it is. Every day I read it. I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm earning a minimum of, I'm not going to put my numbers in there, because people say, well, that's a big number. But yeah, it's a big number. Have I hit that number yet? No, but I'm sure a whole lot bigger than I was 5 years ago. And people can't believe it. You're making that type of money, Tom? You're doing this type of thing? Well, yeah, because I wrote these statements. He says, do this every day for 30 days, that statement. And I'll close out what he said. So the first time I got in front of a mirror, closed the door, turned the timer on for 5 minutes, say that statement. I haven't stopped reading it daily for 7 years. For 5 minutes for 30 days. Looked in the mirror. I'm so happy and grateful now. And I'm looking at myself, Tom, you've got to be effing kidding yourself. You know? And after a couple, 3 minutes, after 5 minutes, I go, God, there's something feeling different, right? End of a week, man, it's starting to go, wow. At the end of 30 days, there was no doubt that this was going to happen. There was no doubt. It was clear on my vision, my purpose, and my why. And then the two most valuable words to ever incorporate, would you agree, is I am.
Mm-hmm.
And you feel my man, I got here, I am value. I didn't believe I brought value to the world. I am prosperous. I had a lack mentality. I am prosperous. I am powerful. And I'm not saying powerful in the thing that you're dominating, that I bring energy that gives people a positive power. I am wealth. Now, wealth isn't the benchmark of money. Wealth goes beyond that. I'm healthy. I mean, without health, you don't have wealth, right? Of any wealth is quality of life.
For sure.
I'm a magnet of money and prosperity. I am the I am, and it is done. This I read every day, and refer to it and go to it when I'm down. I go here, right? So, I sort of took over the thing, but it's just, I'm so grateful. But Bob said, Tom,
Yep.
I didn't want to hear what he said, but I'm so grateful this day that man came into my life. He has changed everything, and other people as well. He's not the only person, but I go back to gratitude for that. And how many people do that? You've been around the block. You know about these principles. You apply them. How many people do you see that they could change your life if they just implement one discipline?
Oh, well, I mean, the reality is everyone, 100% of the people you run into could improve their life if they simply took one more piece of discipline or one more process. I mean, it's funny. I moved my office from upstairs to downstairs, and my affirmations are sitting on my desk upstairs now that you say that. But very much so. I am powerful beyond belief. I am, here to make a positive impact on the planet. Anything I am becomes a command statement to yourself.
Exactly.
And it's really, again, when I started Gratitude Today, I didn't start it for anybody other than me. Because what I wanted to do is I wanted to put my gratitude out in public. It wasn't just me saying, hey, I am grateful for my PT team. It was me telling the world that I was. Now, whether the world chose to see it or not, that's a whole nother story, right? That wasn't the intent. The intent was to kind of have outside accountability for that statement or for those statements, whatever they were at that time. And what was interesting is because I created a group, then people would read them and say, can I become part of this group? Can I post mine here? Yes. And so, there was a period of time where we had, I don't know, hundreds of people on a daily basis posting their gratitudes. And then, like I say, I got busy. Other people were still doing it, and I fell out of the habit. I mean, life happens to all of us.
Yeah.
But again, when something that's this valuable comes back up, you've just got to carve out time to do it. And then you'll find it takes almost no time. The reality is if all you ever did when you wake up and before you let your feet touch the floor, you say, I am so happy and grateful. I'm so happy, grateful, and blessed that I woke up. I am so happy, grateful, and blessed that I have 2 feet to put on the floor. I'm so happy, grateful, and blessed that I stood up. I mean, it doesn't, if you, and similarly at night, if you were to just to go to review and go, gosh, I'm so happy, grateful, and blessed that Tom had me on his show today. I mean, do a little bit of recap. You would find there's so many good things happening in your life that you may or may not recognize until you ask yourself to recognize them. And then once you ask yourself to recognize them and you start doing that repeatedly, again, it's like a muscle. It gets to be a habit, and you just tend to do it over and over again. And when you tend to do it over and over again, you tend to have greater successes and more significance. Novel concept.
Yeah, it's sort of just like your PT and rehab. The more you do it, you go, I don't see myself getting there. But next week you go, God, I can walk 10 stairs. I couldn't walk one yesterday, right? Or a week ago.
Yeah, I mean, when I walked out today, a guy, who happened to be at a table next to mine, he was getting a laser treatment done. And so we happened to walk out of the place at the same time. And I said, how's your therapy coming along? He goes, oh, it's just made a world of difference. He said, what did you have done? I said, well, I had 2 hips replaced. He goes, oh my God, my dad's talking about having. I said, good. Then let me give you some encouragement to pass along to him. Do it. You'll say thank you for it. And we got into this conversation about how grateful we were that technology was available, that they could put a metal body part in, that they, all these different things. And I said, I said, I am so grateful for the skill of the surgeon and the physical therapy team and everybody. Why would you sit and stay in pain if you knew there was another choice? And so it's funny, as we separated and I was walking to the car, I went, wow, I just had the opportunity to potentially improve somebody else's life, his dad, by giving him the information to share with his dad to encourage him to take the action to get out of pain. It wasn't hard to do, but again, when you're in that place of gratitude, I was so grateful for how I came through the day. It then spurred another conversation of which we were both then expressing our gratitude for what had gone on, which then allowed for the next step to happen. It becomes a cyclone of goodness. It really becomes that thing. And people go, are you always like this? And yeah, I really am. I don't look at it doesn't mean less than positive stuff happens to me. A lot of it does. But I choose not to look at that. I choose to look at the other stuff. And when I look at the other stuff, I find more of the other stuff. I find the opportunity to be of service to somebody. Again, you get what you look for.
Like Bob Proctor says, everything that we're seeking is around us. And that could be the 2 sides of the coin, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Everything we're seeking is around us. It's only through awareness. So if we're aware of the negative side, the less energy side, guess what you're going to see? You're going to see the world from that prism, through that lens. And I just want to share this with you. Is that we talk gratitude and being grateful and more than just on the surface. It's just sort of a, how you do? I'm good. People just respond naturally to, move on. But I remember in a workshop in Sandy Gallagher, Bob Proctor's partner. Did you ever meet Sandy?
Long time ago. I knew Bob far more.
Okay. But when she came into the picture, and then she's been in, I've been to some of Bob's high-end events over my career before he passed. And I remember her sitting down with a group of us, and she says, people are getting success mixed up. And people started to ask questions. She says, people get success is you hit a milestone, or you have dollars in the bank, or you have this or that, or whatever. The external, the worldly things. And those things are all great because they're just a barometer of what she said. So there's real success to get to that level. I want to make X, or I want to have the house on the beach, or I want to travel, and I want all the things I call the ornaments of the tree, your Christmas tree.
Mm-hmm.
He says people get focused on the wrong thing because you can't get there. He says real success is who you become along the way.
Mm-hmm.
That's the real barometer. I'm not the same person I was yesterday. I'm not the same person Tom Ginn was 40 years ago.
Yep.
I've progressed and I've had a path of success. And has there been falling down, getting back up, falling off the wagon, losing discipline, losing focus, losing belief, and losing faith? But because of the influences I've had, I can just see my life. And guess what? The material things of the world and the relationships that I would have never known, I'm abundant. I'm abundant. You're part of my abundance life. I've through this whole thinking, I would never have met you. Tom Small thinking and poor energy thinking would have never have given me enough confidence to engage with you, or my energy, you would have repelled it, right? Isn't that what happens?
Yeah, more than likely. I mean, it's one of the concepts that I teach consistently is be somebody that people want to be around.
Yes.
Novel concept, right? Nobody likes a sourpuss. Nobody likes a Debbie Downer. Nobody likes everybody who's just, look, the sky is blue. It's got to be falling. Who wants to be around that? I want to be around people that are wanting to make a positive impact, that have a desire to serve the greater good, who want to live with an abundance mentality, that even though I might not have it today, I know that it's available and it's coming to me at its appropriate time. Novel concept, right?
Everything has a gestation period, as Bob would say.
Exactly. Think of the example I like to use in that is think of the Asian bamboo, that when you plant a seed and you bury it, it's got a gestation period of 5 years. 5 years before it breaks ground. Now, at 5 years, it breaks ground and it grows a ridiculous amount. I think 3 feet a month or something like that.
It's I know. I don't know the specifics.
It's a crazy
the concept. Yeah,
but it's the concept of it all. But gestation is what gestation is. If it takes, it's like another example that I've heard used is an elephant and a dog are talking, and they're both pregnant, and the dog says, when's your baby coming? And the elephant says, oh, it'll be a couple years. And the dog says, you know how many litters I'll have by then? And the elephant says, great for you. For me, it takes 2 years. For you, it takes whatever it takes.
Yeah.
And how many, but think, it sounds like a silly story on one side, but think of it on the other side, that the elephant is grateful for the fact it takes 2 years to develop the baby elephant. And the dog should be just as grateful that it takes whatever time frame it takes, however many weeks, for it to be able to have multiple babies, right? Puppies. So again, I think part of what's happened is we live in such an immediate gratification, me, now society.
The microwave.
Exactly. The microwave mentality. If it's not done in a minute, it's not good. And it's actually, I think, and I share it many times in my trainings, that some of us more mature, that's code word for older, some of us more mature folks understand creating relationships and being grateful for things and working on things over a period of time. Would we all want certain things to happen faster? Of course we would. But we also understand that if they don't happen in that time frame, they'll happen when it's appropriate. They'll happen when they're supposed to happen. And so, but again, I'm grateful for the opportunity and the process to talk to people and to share ideas with them and concepts. I learned something virtually from every conversation. And but it's because I've made a decision to seek the thing that is available in every conversation. So, and I'm grateful for it.
Yeah. We're going back to the bamboo. We want growth, and we got to be grateful for the universe and how it operates and understand everything. I believe everything operates by law. And when I say operate, we got the physical law, right? And we break that down. It works the same way all the time, and it's non-man made. Same with the spiritual laws. They're non-man made. They work exactly the same under the same circumstances. We'll always get the same results. So we have to accept that the universe operates by law. So and be grateful that it does. And understand, when we become grateful, we can then see the roots. Because a lot of people look at that big oak tree. Man, that's what I want. That's the biggest gold I want. That big, huge. That took 40, 80, 100 years to mature.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to look at where it all started. How did that tree get that big? It's the roots. And those roots are our belief systems, our attitudes, everything. And that's where growth of the oak tree is. And it sustains growth.
Mm-hmm.
And we look at the things in the wrong way. And that's what, when you get grateful, you start looking at things differently and deeper. Where is the root that you're seeking? The outcome that you seek? It's at the root, and that's you. That's internal work. So that's my little metaphor on that. But I want to go back to gratitude and the depth of gratitude. Do you drink coffee?
Absolutely.
I love coffee.
I do too.
I was in the coffee business. I was a national director of sales for a major roaster worldwide. And I used to teach people about buying beans and cupping and tasting and the difference and all that stuff. But we don't realize all that's involved in getting that fine cup of coffee. So you go to the coffee shop. I won't put a name on them, but some are better than others. I'm a connoisseur, like a wine guy with coffee. So you go in, and how many of us say, thank you, and we walk away? But are we grateful? Not only are we grateful, we should look at gratitude in a deeper way. And I just use this in the simplistic way.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be grateful for the barista that's behind the counter. What did that barista sacrifice to get there to serve you a cup of coffee? And then we think about the bean and the store. Where did that come from? And who, if we just go through the lineage of what brought this cup of coffee to me, we have a greater depth of understanding of what gratitude is. It's just, oh, thank you for the coffee, did a good job. But if we start looking at things to the root of how it got here, our understanding of life, our understanding of relationships, our understanding of everything in business, everything is when we go to the root.
Mm-hmm.
Where did that come in? Why am I grateful? Why am I grateful for my mother? Well, I go deeper than just some of the things we hear all the time. I really go into her sacrifices and grateful that she went through them because it made her who she was. And I passed. So we all have roots. And if we can go deeper, and this is something that Robert A. Emmons teaches, go deep, you become more grateful. The sacrifice that you go through, hearing your story, and the relationship that we will already made and can continue to move forward, and be grateful for your journey, because that is why I'm grateful, is hearing your story.
Well, and again, we've all had these experiences, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to share it on your show here. Yeah. It only makes sense because you don't know. Another concept I teach consistently is high intention, low attachment. Having high intention of imparting something good for each and every one of the listeners here, and a low attachment as to what particular nugget that is, for whom, or even for you and I. It's, come in with the desire to say something of value that somebody might grab onto and go, wow, that's exactly what I needed today. Perfect. Or somebody says, I already knew everything that these two chuckleheads were talking about today, but I'm going to tag it and share it and comment on it and put it out to a friend, because I've got friends who need to hear this information.
Yeah.
Awesome. In either case, wonderful. Something good happened out of it. Again, I think a big part of this is, we can all, I know I certainly can, be more grateful more often. And the more that we would do that, the more it would serve us. We get caught up in busy, and there's so much time. And gosh, one of my great friends, Sean G. Murphy, and I love watching him do it. And it's so much fun when we're together. Like, we might go to a place to have coffee, as an example. But he'll walk up to the counter as he's ordering the coffee, and he said, before I order, I just want to say thank you for all that you've done and what you're going to do for us, but all you've done for so many other people who didn't say thank you. So I want to say thank you for them. And it's something that I work to emulate. I just think it's such a great process. He does it virtually 100% of the time when we're together. And I go, dang it, I just keep on forgetting to do that because I think it's so valuable. Like I say, that's a muscle as well,
I'm going to attach myself to what you just said and see how I can put that into my beingness.
Yeah, well, that's what that's the other thing that happens when you're around people that are grateful. You learn new ways to become grateful.
Yeah.
And I love that practice when he does it. But he's adopted some of my practices. I mean, I answer the phone if I know who's calling. If you were to call me, the way I would, and I see it on my caller ID, I say, Tom Ginn Fan Club, how can I be of service? And I say it 100% of the time if I know who the person is. And one guy, he goes, sometimes I just call you because I need a chuckle. And he goes, I know you're going to answer that way. And so that's something that, as an example, Sean has emulated and done. And it's not that hard to be good to people. It's not that hard to lift them up. It's a decision. It's a choice. And so I love doing that. I mean, I have people who are calling me, but will try to say it, Scott Schilling's Fan Club calling you, they'll try to do it in advance to get at me before I can say it to them. It's a blast, and it just sets a great tone for the calls. So
yeah, you know what, Scott? I lost my internet connection. I don't know what happened, but we sort of went into the dark hole. So I think it was on my end, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, I saw you freeze for a second, but who knows what?
Yeah, then I looked at my internet browser, says no internet connection. It came back on. So I don't know if it was a glitch out there or my router or whatever it is. But anyway, I didn't catch all what you had, but and there's going to be a black screen out there for somebody. But grateful for technology. Came back. What can we say?
Who knows?
I was about ready to call you, let you know.
Oh no! What I think what it's going to cause is people are going to hear just the start of the story and go, my God, we got to learn more. Can we get in touch with you
That's it. Fill me in, what was the middle part of that story? So,
exactly.
I've enjoyed this conversation so much that, when you hang around with people that have grown and gone through their wisdom and put that out there, I learned something today. Couple 3 principle. I take notes.
Yeah, me too.
Because when you write notes, guess what? I call this your genius factor. A lot of people don't realize how powerful the pen is.
Yeah.
But there's a couple things I came away with today, and
Good.
I'm going to it changed my perspective. Hearing the same thing, maybe a different way, resonates. So thank you, Scott, for
My
bringing
pleasure.
your perspective, your wisdom, experience to this conversation, being grateful. We sort of went in some other areas, but everything is tied with gratitude.
Everything that we went into is tied to
Yeah.
being grateful,
Yeah.
being blessed, being honored by certain situations. The root comes back to being grateful for the experiences, no matter what they've been.
We've been here nearly. It's amazing how people say, you do an hour with somebody, isn't that a long time? No, when you engaging and you have something meaningful, it's like, how did it get here? How did we get to 1 o'clock?
Exactly.
Versus, I've done some interviews that we got 30 minutes and we're going to be in. Wait, what was that? You get some of the people I've interviewed. We've gone an hour and a half. Some of the people. If I drop the names, how easy that is to go. But I just want to say this to everybody that's out there. We're coming up to a holiday that many times people will stop and reflect. Thanksgiving, but make every day a Thanksgiving day.
Mm-hmm.
Be grateful, no matter what's happening around us. That just don't use one day to stop and reflect and be grateful. Make every day your personal holiday.
Yep.
Make it your personal holiday, and then get together with somebody and just radiate your gratitude on that day. Because we know what happens with a lot of those family get-togethers. You got, like my brother-in-law says, we bring fun in dysfunctional.
Yep.
But anyway, I think every day we take a look and be grateful for today. Make every day your national holiday. Be grateful for everything. My friend, I thank you much for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you for the invitation.
And do you want to close out with anything here in the next minute or so?
I would just encourage everybody to give gratitude a chance. I am so happy and grateful now that as your foundation, and if you can throw in the because in the middle of your answer, you will find you'll find improvement. You'll find things going your way easier. You'll find your focus finding more great things for you. The reticular activation system kicks in. When you tell it what to look for, it finds it. That's the way we've been built. Yeah. So I encourage you to be grateful and then enjoy the results.
Well, my friend, I appreciate staying in the back room for a little bit. Just going to wrap a couple things up before you get into your busy day. So again, I'm so grateful that we've crossed paths in many different areas. I'm grateful for today more than anything else. I appreciate you much. So
my pleasure. Thank you all.
Okay. That was Scott Schilling. Man, there's a guy that radiates gratitude and with a great perspective. So we got the holiday come up, like I shared with you. Make today your Thanksgiving. Make it every day, and then take it to the holiday fest, and be the dressing, be the dessert, be everything, be the life of the party. Be grateful. Everybody have a great time. I'm going to close with my corporate sponsor.